Hello and welcome back to the Astrocast. Yes, I know it's been a bit of a while. Things have happened, life has changed. Um, I am Brad, and I am joined here as ever by
Theff?
beautiful, beautiful. Now, as it's been a while, I'm not going to ask everyone what all of the hobby stuff they've been doing since we last did an episode, because that would be an episode in itself, and I really want to talk about new toy soldiers. Who would like to go first?
Uh, I'll jump in very quickly. I've been actually quite good at the hobbying. I've painted 3,000 points of 30k Thousand Suns, shiny red all the way. A Titanicus Titan, Warlord Titan, done in the synthwave style, called the Caveat Emptor, and I've stuck a little 3D printed ruined blockbuster on his base because I'm just that cool and very much into my 80s theme. Then I went on a huge Star Wars kick. Bought some Legion clone troopers because I watched the Clone Wars, all of it in about a week, which was no mean feat, and a Captain Rex, and they're currently sat on my painting desk amongst the carnage of packing up the rest of my hobbying stuff because I have to move at some point soon. But yeah, quick rundown of my hobbying over the last year. Oh God. Warp
Oh, it's,
shenanigans.
yeah.
Warp shenanigans, indeed.
What shenanigans? I like that. We can blame that on why my report's going to be much shorter than Fest. No, in terms of tiny plastic figures, there haven't been a great deal, and what little there has been is I've been printed by or painted by Theff under the guise of letting him indulge his hobby when really it's just been getting stuff for free for me. But yeah, no. Hobby-wise, has mostly been all online for me because I've been busy constructing a much-delayed campaign on Roll20 for Theff, his wife, and yet another person who shares the same real-life name as us, which is very freaky. But yeah, that's
Ooh,
about it.
congratulations to Mr. Zeppo getting married this week as well.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, in Vegas, no less.
a happy
Ooh.
delay rather than a bad delay like all the other ones.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then for my update, what have I done? So I've done a few bits and pieces. I yet again have changed my way of painting ultramarines because I can't seem to settle. But I have now got a nice. I think what's why I've kept restarting them is I was getting bored of black bolters.
Hmm.
I basically did one for Heresy with a red bolter and went just that extra pop of colour makes it a lot better. So I'm slowly working through my backlog of unbuilt Primaris and slowly going through my firstborn and just painting them all up in a very simple format of spray them with Crag Blue, do some details, do a Mark's Marine Juice over the top, and they look pretty good. So that's my 40k side. I've subbed to Stormbringer. So I'm slowly amassing more Stormcast, and I'm kind of doing something very similar with them, but I'm trying to do very grimdark Hammers of Sigmar. Um, so what I've done with those, I've sprayed them black and then done a few light dry brushes of gold, and then focus on desaturated colours. My goal for both of them, they're both very much poster boy armies, but trying to make them look cool and a bit different. And I think I've succeeded with that. I've technically started Lord of the Rings, but I haven't bought anything new for it. I got round to painting a load of all of my high elves that were like suitable to use. So I now have a small high elf force, and Feth very kindly sent me the Gandalf from Khazad-dûm, who is, I'd say, about 50% painted at this point.
Excellent.
So he is going to be, along with Elrond, I've got a I've got the start of a White Council list. Because a White Council list at a full-size game is 5 models.
Jesus.
It is literally Gandalf, Elrond, Galadriel, Saruman, and Radagast.
Yet it's probably the most brutal
Oh
thing in the
dear.
game, right?
Yeah, I have no idea how it play, but I kind of went. I'll go and work my way through that. I do want to get the old Radagast though, the one they released about 15 years ago, rather than the more modern ones.
The sheer scarcity of models is giving me like old fantasy flashback where it wasn't strange to have a single model cost 1,000+ points.
Oh yeah, that's I think there's probably one to talk about with Wilko and maybe do a deep dive on Middle Earth at some point. But it's the Legendary Legion because you can add extra characters into like to make it bigger. But if you want to play the Legendary Legion, it needs to be those 5 characters. Yes, but the other system is I've technically started Bolt Action and Conflict 47, which is Warlord Games World War II offerings.
It was only a matter of time, let's face it.
It was only a matter of time. It's like shooting longbow and joining camera. It's going to happen. I've accepted this. So I have a very small British force of an officer, a regular infantry squad, a squad of Royal Marines. I've got a squad of paras to finish painting, and some weird war stuff in the form of a Cromwell tank with a Tesla cannon. And the models I am having incredible anxiety about making, which is in the lore of Conflict 47, Alan Turing develops rudimentary AI, so the British have automated infantry, which are multi-part metal and incredibly spindly to the point that they need to be pinned, but I can't. Pinning them is going to be a nightmare.
Get the Dremel, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a pin vise, so it might need me sitting down and watching a lot of YouTube tutorials about how to make these sodding infantry. They look really cool. I'll throw a picture of the automated infantry, which are effectively referred to as Alberts by the Canadians in the lore of Conflict 47, which I think is just beautiful.
That is cool.
So, that is cool. So that has been my hobbying. And I suppose the other, I attended a wargaming. Oh, I've got Dad's Army to paint as well.
Nice.
And the last miniature I'll talk about is I picked up Baz Squiddo's Athena,
Cool.
Which is a really nice model and I can highly recommend. Does need pinning. It is a large metal model. The owl is particularly fragile, but I was listening to a podcast all about mythology on the subject of Athena, and found out that Athena is not only the god of strategic warfare, she's also the goddess of handicraft. So therefore, I feel she is definitely the goddess of wargaming. So therefore, if you, I feel every wargamer should own at least one model of Athena.
Makes a scary amount of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea whether she'll bless my paintbrush or dice rolls, but she's now sat on my desk. Hopefully, I won't find a system an excuse to use her in a game, because that would lead to me painting Athenian hoplites, which I'm not against, but I've got enough project ideas as it is.
Close combat auxilia for your Ultramarines.
It's not a bad idea.
No, bad theft. Stop it.
I know, but that's using an existing system. That's fine. What I don't want someone says, "Oh, did you know? But you can field Athena as a commander in this ancient warfare game, where you can take units of Minotaurs," because that would be dangerous.
Yeah.
So the main reason we reactivated this is, I suppose, twofold. One, 10th edition Warhammer 40k is dawning on us like a new dawn. That is a terrible analogy, but I do apologise. And it has just been Warhammer Fest. Now, we had a roving reporter, Dr. Wilko, and I sat down with him last night and we talked through various stuff, how he found the event, and how he found entering Golden Demon. So we now know a Golden Demon entrant, and he's just tips on how to enjoy the event. So we'll jump live to him now. I'm here with Dr. Wilko, our roving reporter from
Hello.
From Warhammer Fest. Firstly, how was the event? As a general summary.
General summary, I think that there's been a lot of discussion, I think you'll find on Twitter and Reddit and stuff. Overall, I enjoyed myself. I got to meet and chat with a load of people. There was not enough stuff to fill three days, but I had the benefit of having a 3-day ticket, which allowed me to pick and choose when I did certain things. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. But that meant I didn't have to necessarily go through QFest 2020 because I just came back to stuff later, knowing that I didn't have to get it all done on the Saturday, for example.
Yeah.
So that helped. I did go to one reveal thing. I went to the reveals I went in for the Middle-earth reveals, but they also had the Warcry and, I guess, Underworlds at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that was a fun thing. It's not I don't know how many people are going in for the reveal. There's lots of people there, like with their kids and stuff like that, who aren't going into the reveals. But you did have to kind of queue up a bit early for reveals. So, but I enjoyed being in the room, when you're there, and the Q&As were quite good because those don't get put on Twitch. I think just because there's a chance someone might say something that's, a bit too expansive, for example. So I can understand why they lock that down, but it is nice to be able to be like, oh, you said this thing. Does that mean X, Y, or Z? To actual people off Warhammer TV and stuff like that, which is cool. What else? The venue is quite nice. I don't think anyone has a problem with the venue and stuff. And Manchester's a lovely city, so got to see some non-nerdy friends in and around Manchester as well. Nerdy, but in a different way, not Warhammer Fest pretendies. So yeah.
Not everyone plays little plastic soldiers, so that's fair. Cool. So it sounds like it's a good event. I did get a lovely message from my brother on the first morning saying, "Do you want to go to Warhammer Fest?" And I was like, "Well, it's probably a bit late at this point. It has has already started. So it's something I'm probably debating doing next year. That might be.
I hope it would. I don't know. Some people want, like, it used to be at the NEC, right, when it was Games Day.
Yeah.
And I think also the last time it was called Fest. I think there was a Fest in 2019, if I'm correct, but I wasn't following stuff back then.
That was we were in Krakow at the time.
Oh right, okay, yeah. Good weekend that. But yes,
it was a good weekend that. But beyond the scope of this podcast,
definitely. Keep me on track because I'm as bad as you.
Excellent. Well, I am very tired. And I've been playing some Stormcast this evening, so I'm now starting to fade slightly. So we'll power on. So it sounds like it was a really good experience to go there, and it sounds like it had a really good atmosphere. So you weren't just an attendee to Warhammer Fest. You are a Golden Demon entrant. So that's the other kind of big question I've got about how was that whole experience of actually deciding what you're going to paint and putting that together and then entering.
Well, I had an idea. Let's put it this way: when I wanted to get into, I wanted to have an excuse to paint something for Golden Demon. Since I was a kid, I always wanted to enter. I should have entered as a young blood as a kid. I wouldn't have won, but that it's amazing what some 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds are painting. There was one entry from a 7-year-old in the young bloods, and that stuff's just impressive. I should have done that when I was a kid. I would have loved it, I'm sure. But kid me would be very happy to know that adult me has actually entered, and I didn't win anything, but I enjoyed myself, and it's about taking part. And there is definitely something about seeing your model on those shelves. You have to get something finished and put it in, there's a list of steps you have to go through. I mean, that in and of itself is an achievement. And I think that's how I came at it. I was like, I had no illusions that I could even get a finalist pin. But I wanted to give it a go, and I definitely would go back next year. I guess that's the general point, is like, I would definitely do Golden Demon again because I've seen some great stuff and it inspires you to push yourself even harder.
I suppose that's it. It's something that when Games Which was doing their podcast, they made a point that the heavy metal team, part of what makes them better is they're being pushed by the painters they're up against. So I suppose it's like, I don't. Do you get ranking or scoring of any kind, or judges feedback on?
No, unfortunately. I mean, that is a thing people criticize, and I probably would try and do other painting competitions so I could get some feedback. Because I know that's a thing other competitions do. There is a archaic system of coloured stickers that people aren't exactly sure about, but it sounds like people who've entered a few times have a decent idea of what various colours mean. So if you get a green sticker, that essentially means you're a finalist. And then within that, there's also, so it goes finalist, commended, and then 1 to 3 in each category. So a finalist, you get a little pin that says Golden Demon. That's really cool. And you can share that on Instagram and say, look, I got a finalist pin. Quite a few people you might follow did. Quipster, I think, got a finalist pin for all 3 of his, and his were lovely. They were really, really good. And then commended is this is within finalists, but it's really good, just didn't make the top 3. And then obviously bronze, silver, gold in each category. And finally there's the Slayer Sword, which goes to the best of all of the winners, which this year went to an Age of Sigmar single mini, which was like a kit bash between a load of Lumineth and old High Elf stuff that is just, it's just really well painted. It's similar to when that Skink won. The model is just very well painted on lots of different levels. It's not necessarily grab your attention like some of the others. There's the Mephiston model it was a winner in its category, I believe, is the light and stuff in that is super cool. But the actual Slayer Sword winner was just technically perfect kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, seeing all of that is cool, and being able to compare yourself in the cabinets to other people. It's also really interesting to see which categories are more popular. So I think a lot of people have talked about how I think this year was the year everyone decided to do a Lord of the Rings mini, basically, because people have said for a long time, oh, it's really easy to win in the Lord of the Rings category kind of thing. And that's you don't know how true that is, right? Because if you're up against one amazing painter in that category, then doesn't matter. If they're better than you, you're still going to lose out.
The analogy that immediately sprung to my head is, as you know, I'm an archer outside of it, and it's if you want to win the gold, you shoot longbow, because longbow is entirely shot by old men.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there is definitely if 3 people entered, then I guess you're going to get a bronze, right? But more people enter every category than that. I would say everyone judges their own work quite harshly. I think my model photographed particularly well. My Instagram photos, I think, do it a service as opposed to a disservice. And I think it's hard to. I think the judges have a special lighting room they go and take stuff away, because like some of the stuff that actually placed, I saw in person and went, "That's nice," but I thought something else was better. And that is an interesting effect of the fact it's in a bright lighting cabinet and not necessarily like I don't know where they go off to take them, but there's like basically inside the Golden Demon area is like a thing that has a big Golden Demon sign on it, and I assume the judges are in a little booth in there with various lighting setups and other stuff saying, "Look at stuff in depth." And what they probably do, although I don't know, no one really knows how they judge them. I expect they pick up and have a look at everything, and then they probably get kind of a short list of stuff to look at in detail, and from that they then start scoring. So I imagine they probably do dismiss like stuff that's just okay out of hand, because they're very experienced painters. There's some heavy metal team people on there and other painters. And other painters. But I think the cool thing is trying to compare yourself to the cabinet. And I think out of what I saw in my category, so I wanted to enter 3 things. You said, what did I want to pick? I bought the Squiggle lunchbox, and my idea, like, because you need a bit of a twist, I feel like.
Just to make you stand out amongst so many other good painters, you probably do need like that. Oh, he was the one who did the X, Y, Z.
Yeah, I mean, I think it isn't like that. They are looking at the technical quality of the painting as well. As we said, there's a single Skink Mini that won the Slayer Sword previously. Is just an exceptionally painted single guy. Nothing special other than like the basing was nice, but it wasn't like doing some weird pose or anything. No kit bashing going on. But I wouldn't be surprised if it helps a bit to like have done a cool like if you have a cool idea and you execute it well, that's definitely going to make you stand out, right? Like that must be true. So my idea for my Squig army is they're all animated fungus things with teeth, right?
Yeah.
So I thought I will paint all of mine to look like specific fungi or be inspired by. So I've got you can put my Instagram thing in the link, or I can send you the photos if you need them for the post. And there's the blue squig at the bottom that's meant to look like a pixie's parasol fungus. So it's kind of a dark blue going down to a light blue with a blend that I was really pleased by, and then put loads of dots on, which actually I feel just detracts from the blend in the end. But still, it was the thing I was going for.
Going back to no one's more harsh critic than yourself on that one.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Like I know what I did wrong. There's like there's bits. I was just listening to the Warhammer girl on the painting phase, and she was saying one of her models got featured on the Warcom article, and she knows that there's a mistake on it, and like it's glaringly obvious to her, and loads of other people haven't noticed. And she was like, "Now I mentioned it, I bet everyone's going to go and try and find what I got wrong." But like stuff like that happens. I managed to catch when I was finishing off the basing. I just needed to put a bit of texture paint on to kind of blend everything together on the base, because I obviously painted it in sub-assemblies. And I caught something I'd already painted, I thought, quite well with that. And I managed to get most of it off with some water, but then obviously I had to go back in and touch up. Thankfully, I noticed it before I submitted it. So I'm very happy that every bit of the model was done to the same standard. Was it a standard to win Golden Demon? Of course it wasn't. But I would say, my opinion is I was probably middle of the cabinet I was in, but I was in one of the less submitted categories. Like if I'd been in Middle Earth, I'd have definitely been completely outstripped by so many amazing entries. But large Age of Sigmar miniature was, I think it was 2 or 3 cabinets, but they weren't particularly full this year. And other cabinet, like the 40k ones, I didn't even see most of them. They were very full. But yeah, the whole experience, fun, interesting. I've learnt from it. I'm going to go away. And this year I'm definitely going to plan more than a month in advance what I'm actually painting. So yeah.
I'm fairly sure it popped up on Crazy Days. Like, I best start my Golden Demon entry. It's like, haven't you got like 6 weeks? It's this.
Pretty much. I was on holiday. If in a perfect world, I would probably have started around the new year. And I think the thing is now I've seen the kind of things that do well. I want to have it. Like, I'm not going to do diorama because diorama is a really good category. Like the amount of, I don't have the imagination necessarily for that. Like I think it's easier to stick to like single mini, where it's like if I paint this mini quite well and maybe put them in a cool setting, I would be maybe tempted by dual. I think dual works quite well because it doesn't need to be more than 2 minis.
It's not nice. You probably don't need to do too much conversion work with that. You can find 2 minis that are suitable as they come to enter into that. So yeah, that's
well, one of the silver winners. I think the silver winner in dual this year was Bayard's Revenge, which is the model exists as a display piece, and someone painted it really well. That was it. It was on a plinth, but it didn't have anything else special going for it. I saw several Bayard's Revengers there, and that one was obviously the best of the three. And then there were others that, like, some of the duels are really fun. There was a Tau, like, shooting its fusion blaster at the at a flyer. I can't remember which flyer, one of the Imperial flyers, and like lasering it out the sky. That's really cool. There was a really good Lord of the Rings one where it was like a Rohirrim shooting an Uruk and chasing them down, which was cool. Like, and it's amazing. The thing about the duel that's so cool is how much story can be told on what is the size of a large model base normally. Like you can do a big duel, but like people do them on such smart, tiny things.
Just looking for it, as you say, it's Bard's Revenge. Yeah, that's it. You say it. There's no design is probably the wrong word, but you've not had to tell a story without the story's been done for you, and yet they have painted exceptionally well. But even the bronze winner, I think those models are those are stock minis, or certainly not more than simple kit bashing. I don't even done any cutting or reposing on them. But yeah, it's just a very simple juxtaposition of the two characters with a nice bit of scenery. So yeah, but that knight is particularly the fact, but it's almost certainly Reiksguard. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to run through all of them, but yeah, a few definitely jump out. Like that Bayard's Revenge, as we said, like just to touch on it, it is just Bayard's Revenge, and it's been put on a plinth, and they've just put some nice sand around it, and it's just painted really well. But then the winner is this amazing, old Reiksguard Knight modified, attacking what I believe is the King's Mount from Ideneth. It's like the
certainly the base model.
Yeah. I mean, they've probably done some extra conversion work, but like you can see the core poses there. That's how you get the nice wrapping around the legs and all of that. And then this model is set up to look like that famous picture of St. George slaying the dragon, which is like. There's a level of artistry going on there as well. It's like not only is it really well painted, but the concept and the execution is all really good.
Yeah, I think, you probably could have got away with doing, and got away with going, isn't the wrong term, but using the stock model, that's good. But this one, it tells a story, and it is fantastic. And I hadn't even picked up on the George and the Dragon motif.
There's a bit of discussion about it today on some painting groups. That's why I'm up on my references. There was one guy who did. You would have loved his entry. But it actually got disqualified because it was too out of theme. Like it's meant to be kind of. But basically, he had made 3 knights into Thunderbirds 1, 2, and 3, which is a really clever idea. But basically, I think that technically got disqualified on the basis they can't really take photos of it because it's technically infringing on someone else's IP. Like too close of an illusion, but his other 2 models, which were also great, didn't get disqualified. They were stylistically based on other pieces of art, but it wasn't like this is clearly someone else's IP. And so there's a whole conversation around that and what is too close to something that's an inspiration and stuff. There is a whole list of rules you get sent when you sign up. It's only a tenner. Like if anyone has any. Let me say that again. If any of our listeners have ever considered it, I think for a tenner on top of your main ticket, it's totally worth the experience. You get sent a PDF it's about 10 pages, I think, of rules, and it's like the base rules of how it works, and then there's a description of each category, and there's normally an example photo. Obviously, you can also look back through winners from previous years to get an idea of what they're looking for in a category. Like I say, Warhammer 40k large model was just the avatar on a nice base, the avatar of Kane. And then most of the single minis are just a nice model on a nice base. You can do some extra stuff if you want. But you can see that actually what they're going for is really high painting skill, not necessarily a story in those. Whereas when you look at, say, the diorama in the duel, that's more about how you're telling your story. And the other thing that I will point out for anyone who may be wanting to enter in future years is you get the option to enter every single category from your one £10 ticket. So if you're a prolific painter, you could definitely enter every single category. There's a few where I think it's maybe harder to find the kind of cool model. I think it was 3rd in the small scale was an old epic rhino, which you definitely can't buy anymore. So that was cool. But I mean, there's things like that. But I would encourage anyone who is a decent painter and wants to give it a go to try, because you're going to push yourself, and there's just a great feeling seeing yourself in that cabinet, even knowing you're going to get judged. It's nerve-wracking too, but it's cool.
I've just seen the silver. I love the silver from Darren Lathan. The
open competition.
Yeah, that was always the one you don't enter because that's where all the Games Workshop staff are allowed to enter.
Yes. And then the bronze there is the same guy who won with the Tau bust the other year, who is, I think, one of the digital sculptors for GW. So he sculpts that digitally, so it's an entire 3D print that he's entirely designed and then painted, just like the Tau bust was. And it's similarly the gold. You can't tell the scale from this photo, but the gold entry for the open competition is also a big, I assume, 3D printed, but also designed, which is a rule for the open competition. You can design and print your own thing, which is cool because it's like, you could see that being a mini that GW produces, which is probably exactly what they're looking for when someone does that. And it's very well painted.
That is, you are definitely making me want to go next year. I think I'd already kind of half decided it's something I might look at doing. So you've enjoyed the event. What advice would you give for people who want to go and do it next year? Any kind of like tips and tricks that you learned this year that you go, oh, I should have done it this way?
Do you mean entering Golden Demon, or do you mean going to the event?
Going to the event, sorry.
Yeah. So stay somewhere nearby, obviously. Research the city ahead of time, because once you've got your pass, you can go in and out. So the food, like this is standard con advice, but like if there's a convention center and you can go somewhere where there's decent food that's outside, it's going to be cheaper. But like unlike say XL, where MCM is held in London, where you go outside and all the shops and restaurant around it are basically there for the convention center, they're still quite expensive. The benefit of being basically in the middle of Manchester is in a 5-minute walk, you're in the middle of Manchester. So, it is worth going and exploring the city while you're there. I think also making sure there's going to be some people there. I went with our mutual friends who were going to be there anyway. Actually, they did the buying of the ticket for me because I was busy when the tickets came out. And that was really good because, if you have a down moment and you want to go sit down somewhere and have you can go chat about the reveals, all that kind of stuff. Gave us a team for the quiz. The quiz was great fun. We did a quiz on the Saturday night and we came joint 4th, which is not bad.
Nice.
We're only 3 points behind the winners, and that's all on Bertie. I had helped with a few things. We were very good at anagrams between the three of us, but that was cool. And worth pointing out, if you have the option to do the quiz, it's called the Megapub quiz. So it's a lot of teams, but if you win, you get some real loot. I think the winning team got like a start collecting or a decent looking box each. And they also got one of the big McFarlane minis and a pile of other stuff that was hard to make out from our distance from the stage. But that's cool. Teams 1, 2, and 3 all got actual swag.
Nice.
What else? So I guess one thing, like, I don't know if you want to talk about this in the rest of the episode where I'm not there, but like there's a number of complaints going on about Fest. There are definitely things I think they could improve. Some criticisms, like I say, so having the 3-day ticket, like obviously if you can only make one day, buy a 1-day ticket. But if you have the opportunity to go, like you don't necessarily need to spend all your time in the convention center. You can plan around like doing stuff. I would recommend anyone doing the 3-day to book a day activity, because I would have run out of stuff to do definitely on the final day if I didn't have the hobby challenge, which is an all-day event. So 8 a.m. to 7 p.m, but the judging is at 5 p.m, so you can get off at a reasonable time. You have a pile of scrap, you build something, then they go off and spray it while you're having lunch, and then you come back and you paint it, and it's called Scrap Demon, so it's a mini competition. And that was really fun. And you get the event exclusive mini out of that. And also basically whatever sprue and stuff you can grab to build. Like I have a diorama now that I built and painted in a day. That's cool. It has the event exclusive mini in. So the whole ticket price for that thing is £45. The event exclusive mini is 21. I got the whole diorama and all the paints. Well, I didn't keep the paints, but I used all those paints to paint it. That's probably, that and all the fun I had was definitely worth the £45 for that event. But also like while you're building it, there's loads of spare sprue and stuff around. And so like, some people got like 2 halves of a Warcry box, like they would get, I think a load of people picked up the Skaven sprues. And like, obviously the intention is that you build your whole thing using this, but people are definitely grabbing sprues they want to take home. You grab some things, try and build something, it doesn't work out. So I've ended up with like some of the Sigmar scatter terrain because it didn't fit on the base and I'd already like clipped it off. So, well, I'll paint it up and have it at home because I need some more scatter terrain. Like, if you go in with that kind of mindset that like there's going to be a load of stuff, hopefully that will improve in future years, because they had a bit of because of the way it was like, oh, here's a pile of stuff. People like they kind of need a bit of a queuing system for it. I hope that some lessons are learned from the event, basically. I think there's a lot of people moaning about various things on Twitter and so on that GW hopefully will pick up on for the next one. What else would be advice?
I said, that on the moaning front, I think I wasn't going to bring up in the main episode, just because we're listening to people whining on Twitter, and you can, some of it might be valid, some of it not, and I'm not in the position to judge. So I'm happy to take your criticisms, because you were there.
Yeah. I mean, I will mention a few criticisms that like I think most people agree with, as opposed, like some people said, oh, there's only 2 hours of stuff to do and left. It's like, well, I think if you go to any event like this, like it's kind of hard trying to compare it to other stuff, but like I'm not a big fan of MCM. 90 quid for the weekend and you get access to a glorified shop. You can never get into any of the things with celebrities. If you actually want to meet a celebrity, it's normally for a signature and you have to pay for that. And if people value that, that's fine. It's just not a thing I personally put a price tag on in my head. So it doesn't particularly interest me. Contrast for me with Fest, where day one I went around and I did all the activities and everything. I did some previews, did the quiz. Day two, I wandered around and I got to chat to loads of YouTube personalities and other influencers in the hobby space. And I think the difference, compare that to real celebrities who are the kind of people who need bodyguards because they have weird fans and stuff. You know, most wargaming personalities have a moderate following on YouTube, and most hobbyists are generally very nice. I know that there are problems some people face online with other, you know, it basically, let's put it this way, the keyboard warriors aren't really there in person. Like I think that's one of the good, this hobby is a really nice thing, and you need to kind of get on with people because you're playing games with them. Like if you're not good at getting on with people, you generally won't end up staying within wargaming, I think, because you there's a whole other topic for another time, I'm sure. But like I think
this is an episode discussion on etiquette and behavior within wargaming. And possibly an interesting discussion to have at some point. So I'll file that away.
Exactly. Like I'm sure that could be a great thing to chat about. Other podcasts have talked about it as well to an extent. But like just you know, without really trying, I bumped into Quipster and got to speak to him about his entries for Golden Demon. You know, like and that's one thing where like having had the Golden Demon entry, it's very, if you know someone else has entered a Golden Demon, you can kind of go up to them and be like, oh, I saw your thing, it was really good. Because you'll have probably seen on Instagram them posting what they entered. And then you can be like you can talk about the fact you entered one as well. And that gives you a bit of a touchstone. But the thing is, everyone in this hobby already has a touchstone of the hobby. You know, there are very few people who are there just as painters. They probably paint because they collect the models in some way, even if they're not a tournament player, you know? And similarly, you can go up to the tournament table. So I saw, Quipster was there. I saw ADR Wargaming as well. He was great to chat to. He actually was in the winning team for the quiz, which is how we got chatting on Twitter, and that led to us chatting in person. Iron Warriors cosplay, and he showed me like he had his first bolter he ever made for cosplay from like 8 years ago, and it's fine. Like it's the kind of thing you'd put together for Halloween or something with your friends. And then he's got his current bolter that he's just done with like, I don't know if he did laser cutting or whatever, but it's so much. But like you can see how far he's come on, and he's really willing to talk about all the nitty gritty of that.
How he's learned and developed as a cosplayer, and that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you have people walking around in cosplay. I didn't get to chat necessarily to everyone, but like you saw, Louise Sugden was there. She was spent the whole of Sunday going around dressed as a Sister of Battle, which is funny because her hair's normally like quite a dark black color, and so she was going around with the traditional white Sisters of Battle wig, which makes her almost unrecognizable. I don't know if she was kind of doing one of those like, you know, secret cosplay things where you walk around and people don't really know who you are. I'm sure people recognized her because she's, you know, it's not like Comic-Con or something like that. There's less people, but yeah, like seeing stuff like that was just cool. I got to speak to Arbitorian and Forgotten by the Gods, and I saw Fohammer literally as I was leaving, and I went up and like said thanks to him for like doing the Imperium magazine series where he reviewed everything. And we had a bit of a chat, and I was wanted to say thank you, and then was going to go and get my train. We ended up having like a 20-minute chat. That was great. And I was saying, I just bought an airbrush based on his advice. And he was like, oh, you know, before you get it, try that. And it's like that thing, people are always sharing techniques. People are just so excited about the hobby. And that, I think that really makes it. So it's like, go with an open mind and trying to go for that social aspect as well. I appreciate not everyone's finds it as easy necessarily to go up to people and talk to them. And so sometimes you need a bit of an in or some reason to chat to someone. But nearly all these creators are spending half their time chatting to their fans. So, it's good. I mean, if you're someone's Patreon or someone, it might be easier to say, hey, I'm one of your Patreons. And then they're like, oh, cool. But yeah, I mean, in general, I found everyone was very easy to talk to. You didn't necessarily see a lot of the GW people face to face because they're busy running things. So like they're there, but the actual GW hosts were like running the 10th edition playtest and stuff like that. So got to meet Nick Baton, got a handshake for winning with the Ultramarines in the playtest thing. So that's cool. But like, it's not the same as a full conversation because, I just saw him at the end and was like, oh, we won with the Ultramarines.
I suppose that's the difference with the Games Workshop staff. The creators are there as participants, whereas the GW personalities, they are working at the end of the day.
Yeah, and when you see someone at the end of a 12-hour shift of teaching loads of, inquisitive nerds about a new game edition, they're not going to be at their best. And the fact that he could put on a smile, shake my hand, say, "Oh, that's great," that
he just wanted to
made my day.
That was his goal. It's all right. So get through this and get to the pub.
I mean, sure, but like, they're all good at doing that presenting thing. It makes your day meeting someone you've seen on one of these shows. You're like, oh, that's cool, and like. I wasn't expecting to have a 30-minute conversation with him. I think like if you go in expecting that, then you might be disappointed. But like, there's no way when they're running stuff like that, you're gonna have it. Which just brings me to one other criticism, which I think you'll see bandied around, which is I think correct, is that they only had 5 playtest tables for 10th. So that's where I'm talking about having the weekend ticket was super useful. We went Sunday at like 6 p.m. to queue. The queue was an hour long, maybe 5:30, I guess. The queue was about an hour long, and then we played for approaching an hour, I guess. It's hard to tell, but you only played one battle round. There's a lot of questions and a lot of stuff being explained, and it was definitely a scripted demo because they want to try and show you all the differences. So like, oh, now this has happened, so do you want to do Overwatch? And of course you're like, oh well, yeah, of course we want to do Overwatch. And then they get to explain how Overwatch has changed and stuff like that. 5 tables is not enough for when everyone in there wants to play new 40k pretty much.
Considering Age of Sigmar is definitely more popular than Old Fantasy was, but 40k is still, the mainline game. So yeah, the new edition is going to be popular. So that's
yeah. But I think what I'm guessing the plan was, and we don't know here what happened, right? But they had, so there were 5 tables 1 to 5. Someone saw that they also had numbers 6 to 10. So our theory is they probably wanted to run 2 sets of 5 tables with each Warhammer TV host going back and forth between them as people played. But the problem is if a lot of people are coming in completely new to 40k, and they probably realized that really early on Saturday before I went to have a look at the tables, or probably more likely they realized they just couldn't run 2 tables effectively. They then cut down to 5 tables, and then that kind of essentially doubles the queue.
Yeah.
If it was 10 tables, I don't think it would have necessarily massively improved it if that is how they were going to do it. If they'd had 10 people running it would have been great. Being GW, they're very secretive, right? So I can understand why it's the Warhammer TV presenters, people who have, their contracts will involve NDAs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they know what they're allowed to talk about. It's not like, say, when you go to UKG and a board game company, it's like, oh, we've got this new game out and here's 20 people we're paying minimum wage to run games and we've taught them all how it works. With a preview like this, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
What would have been cool in my mind, and I think would be a great thing for them to do next year, and if there's an option to give feedback, I will definitely suggest it, would have just been nice to have more demos of all the games. And that doesn't need to be a Warhammer TV presenter, because stuff that's out, you can have, like in the old days at Games Day, I think they used to have like various shops come in and demo stuff and other things. So like you could have some people running Age of Sigmar because the rule set's been out for ages. So it's not like you're going to reveal something by accident.
Yeah.
I think there is some reasonable criticisms around all that kind of stuff, and there not being quite enough stuff. But then again, this is the
first Warhammer Fest since 2019. So I think I'm right in saying that there wasn't one last year, was there?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm willing to give them the benefit of that. It was definitely their first time in this venue, which always has challenges. I've not done gaming events, but like I've been on the other side of like being at a company presenting a thing. And when you go to a new, sometimes you don't have power cables when you rock up. Obviously, you'd like to think a big convention center like this has sorted those kind of niggles, but yeah, I think there was definitely like all the staff I met were lovely and amazing and hardworking and great and really trying their best to make it good for you. And sometimes there was like limited stock or like the shop, for example, everyone was told ahead of time you're only allowed to buy one of the limited edition minis.
Yep.
People were queuing up for 4 hours. People were queuing up in a big queue with like 10 of them. And then when they got to the end, they were told, no, you're only allowed to buy one of those, which had been announced in advance. Everyone knew, and these people are chancing it on the basis that the store doesn't know. So then everyone's going, oh, well, I saw people running off with like 10, but like no one was actually getting through the tills with them. But it means there are like these ridiculous queues to get exclusives and stuff. And I can see why that's annoying. But like I basically went, I'm not going to bother going to the 40k preview on Saturday morning because they're going to announce a new box. They're going to announce 10th. I will see it online.
Yep.
No point in wasting my life in a queue. So I rocked up. I went for a lovely breakfast and rocked up at 9:10. Great. Went straight in. There was no one around at that point because everyone was trying to get in the 40k preview or watch a screen. So went straight into a painting thing with no queue at like 9:10. Great. Did that
I think that's it. You've got to you be smart with what you want to do because actually, yes, I think the only real benefit it's on Twitch and everyone has a screen, so you can watch the Twitch feedback at a later date. You can watch Valrak's coverage.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you won't get the Q&As, but they're starting to leak out now and be condensed by content creators who are there. So it's kind of like, well, I can see there being. I think the old world would have been the one I would have. That was probably the one reveal I might have said, yeah, let's go to that one.
I unfortunately missed that one because I was meeting real life friends. I don't regret meeting real life friends having seen because like if they revealed a launch box, I'd have been like, oh, I gutted, I missed it. I didn't think them to. Like they weren't going to reveal a launch box alongside the weekend they're revealing the 40k launch box.
No,
that's never going to happen.
That's completely agree with you on that. But that was the one I'm kind of just on the off chance there's something Oh, and by the way, here's the we're not ready to release, but we have a beta version that's going live, or some just for the it would be nice to be in the room for moments. As you said, if they had dropped the launch box, that kind of stuff. But no,
there are definitely so I wasn't there. Our friend went in, so as I said, I was like I knew I was going to be at lunch. You were generally trying to queue up about half an hour before those kind of reveals. The 40k queue must have been longer, but I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get back in half an hour before. But as I was leaving to go to lunch, people had already started queuing for that one because people were so interested in Old World. And there's a few very heresy-focused YouTubers as well who were like, I want to get in there, see the heresy stuff. Entirely reasonable. I was like, at that point, I went, well, it doesn't matter. There's no point in me coming back early from London. And I think, again, that's the thing. It's like, I had a decision there. I could have called off seeing two friends in real life outside of the event and queued, or I could go, it'll be on Warcom in a bit. What I did miss though is I think I showed you the picture of the Bretonian cosplayer who was going around.
Yeah.
It's a great photo anyway. He also had a patsy following him around with 2 empty jars of coconut strung together, which was great. And when he went into the preview, he got a standing ovation. And I'm like, that's great. Because he basically dressed as the model that came out. Like, not he didn't know that's what it was going to be, but like he had the horns and everything on his helmet.
He's not far off. He's
no.
Yeah. It's to get to no, he called that well. Right. I think I'll leave you to the rest of your evening at this point. I think there's too much more to discuss.
I could keep talking, but like you're gonna have to edit this down. So
very important.
Right. Well, in that case, thank you very much for your time. So hopefully you really enjoyed our discussions with Dr. Wilko about his experiences at Warhammer Fest. We're now going to talk about all the pretty models that got shown off. Now, obviously, 10th edition was also, I wouldn't say revealed, we've known it's been coming for a while. I think 10th edition is probably a discussion in itself once we have
assuming we can talk
a more
about the
complete
Space
idea
Marines and Tyranids in the big purple box
of how it plays. We can talk about that, yes. So there is a big box. It's called Leviathan.
And I'm getting...
It is appropriately for the size of it.
This is giving me Leviathan. I was almost out and they're trying to pull me back in vibes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I like it.
Yeah. I want this box, and surprisingly, for once, I want everything that's in this box.
I don't want the boys in blue, but
there's not
Jesus,
anything
the other half
that
of the
I
box
want to build and paint in here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it's. I think I don't think there's a bad model in this. I think probably the most boring is probably the Space Marine flamethrower unit. Just because it is just Mark 10 with flamethrowers. But you know what? Even those are incredibly cool, and I think going through it line by line is interesting. I'm looking forward to getting this in hand. It's hopefully we won't have issues in acquiring it. They've said they've made more than any other box in history. They're going to be a queue system for the website, and it's got a two-week purchase window. So
Cool.
I think shit could still go wrong. Probably shouldn't have sworn. Apologies.
We can but hope. This is Games Workshop we're dealing with. Like, you know, I look at the release of The Lion recently, and it didn't even make it to stores. It was sold out online so
Yeah.
quickly.
No.
But that said, is anyone else getting the feel of the 6th edition box set for the quality of the minis that are in here?
Yeah, they are.
Or is that just me being weird?
No, they are very. I think every mini is incredibly cool in itself, and I like. There seems to be a good narrative with the box set. I think basically the idea is that
Have you
that they,
seen
the
the
Marines-
little
most of
CG,
the
the
Marines
little
have come
trailer they
down
did for
as
it?
like reinforcements to try and stem the tide, and
That was awesome.
yeah,
Oh yeah, the CG launch trailer. Yeah, I love the fact that we get a launch, like a proper animated launch trailer for each edition now.
that was fantastic.
That makes me very happy.
And I have to say, so the bits that's before we go into models, I like the idea that we're getting a full Crusade is something I want to play more of, and I like the fact that there's a whole campaign based around this box, which my plan is to get this, prioritize, get all painted, and then because I did get myself to the point where I can start playing small games of ninth, where I'm now living, with my brother, but then 10th dropped, so it's like then the announcements of 10th came along, and I'm like, well, we'll wait until then. So I'm going to try and get this all painted as quickly as possible, so we can get games in and actually learn to play.
Nice.
So, shall we start going through the models and just start scrolling down this
Yep,
article?
you've got
So first things first,
the Terminator Shouty Man.
the Captain. He's painted as Captain Severus Agamemnon of the Ultramarines First Company. I hope I got his first name right. I'm slightly doubting myself.
Yeah.
That is a big shouty man with a power sword and a storm bolter. Like him.
And I'm immediately wondering what he'd look like with a hooded head and some robes on him, because I love the new Terminators. They are just so cool, and I kind of want to do them all as Deathwing.
Totally fair. I mean, Terminators have always been cool, and I think these are beautifully well proportioned. I don't think they quite have the same problem of being arms above shoulders. They did, because I think I've seen. I don't know if it's on this Terminator, but they've done something slightly with the arm. So whilst there is a lot of armor above the head, the actual arm joint is a bit more sensible in some of them.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he has to shrug to get his arms in
Yeah.
his armor.
And he has got a tactical rock, so maybe less tactical rocks, but he is stamping hard down on a Smush Carnifex or Screamer Killer or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's suitably gribbly and dead, and that's all right by me.
one less Xenos. So there, beautiful model.
Moving on to the new Terminator Librarian, who is, to quote Kirioth, suitably chunky. I big fan of Terminator Librarians. One of the first Space Marine models I ever painted was a Terminator Librarian, and this guy is just so much better in every way than that 4th edition monopose metal thing from way
That
back
might
when.
have even been a 2nd edition model. I'd have to check
Like
it.
he can actually
But
move.
if it's the one with the power axe, that's the 2nd edition one.
It was indeed.
That's no, there's such
Yeah.
dynamism to the pose. I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy painting all the various armor like grooves and the psychic powers, but it looks phenomenal. My only mild gripe is that we've now had. Can we have a librarian
Yeah,
with
you
a
just
staff,
snip
please?
the axe blade off and put a stick on. There you go.
It wouldn't be hard to convert.
It wouldn't be hard to convert, but I'm being whiny.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of that. But we've had lots of swords, we've had lots of axes. Can we have a big stick to whack people with and go? You shall not pass in power armor. No, this is a
Yeah. I also no, he's just stunning. I also love the wrist mounted, gauntlet mounted Stormbolter, which kind of evokes the Grey Knight feel there.
Yeah. And then if the 1/1/1
Um,
doesn't work, you
The
put the
fact
hand
that he's
down
got
and
his
you pull the
hand
trigger.
free to do the, psychic lightning explosion powers. Yep, and I like that as a, somebody's put thought there rather than just kind of he's holding a gun. How does he do the psychic?
It's well thought out. It looks fantastic, and this is going to get into the Golden Demon next year. Sure, I think people are going to go wild with that one.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of potential for what
The
you could do
Apothecary
there.
Biologus, who is a Gravis armor, so
I
nice
want to
and
know
chunky.
what's in that big
And
box he's
he's
lugging
more of a
around.
battlefield scientist than a battlefield medic. I think that's some kind of biomatter sample he's taken.
It's specimens.
We'll leave that to your imagination. Um,
That's what he's pulled out the Griblies and has decided is
Yeah.
important to take back to the fleet.
that's
to
what he's
study.
taken for show and tell. But no, it's. I'm a big fan of Apothecaries. I think he's a really nice, chunky lad, and I think it's a nice. It's kind of cool that I get why some people are like, oh, I wish he was just a normal Apothecary, but having some variety in the Space Marine characters is not a bad thing. We do get a lot of them, so having slightly different
Oh yeah,
takes on them.
It's
And,
also doing it's
yes.
doing wonders for the.
yeah. There's nothing that
I
says
don't
you
know what
can't
the
run him
right
as
words.
a normal
Yep.
apothecary.
It's doing
Like,
wonders for the
you know.
reputation of Space Marine chapters. That rather than going, just learn the alien, they're trying to understand them so they can beat them. Because as I checked in old Warhammer, when people did that, they had to go on the run as a heretic.
Yeah.
So this is a good change.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I also love the gun has his bolt pistol has the skull with the kind of interwoven snake behind it.
Dear.
It's just like witness my skull on a spring.
It is actually a comedy one. No, I think that's a cracking model again. And then I think we're moving down to yet another
They
lieutenant.
caught
but,
Sly Marbo, they
um,
shaved his head and they turned him into a
quite a
Space
cool,
Marine.
badass lieutenant as these go.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, the idea is he's the. I think from the more lore of the box, he's the survivor of the first expedition who they're coming to reinforce. We might find out more in the novel of said box set when that eventually gets dropped.
That's the problem. Is now I want to do a Phobos kill team led by him because he is just a damn cool looking
Phobos
model.
kill team, or maybe not just Phobos. I think like a survivors kill team of different power armor marks with the kind of improvised armor as well. I think would be particularly cool. Then moving down to our first squad of the box, Sternguard. Again,
Nice.
good to see
him
him back. They've never really left us, but they're what I really would expect from what we saw with the Blade Guard with Pariah. Was it Pariah? The previous 40k box. They're on that same design aspect. They're more ornate than the regular Marines, but they're not stupidly
I
ornate.
like the fact that one of them
I
has
like the
a
fact that
combi
one of them has a
flavor.
Mark 7 helmet.
Yep.
Is it a
And
melter?
yeah,
Okay, fair enough. Oh yes, there it is. Cool.
Combi Melter, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a melter.
It's got
Combi Plasma looks cool.
yeah, and a combi plasma as well, and a heavy bolter, which we haven't seen for Primaris too
with
much.
with an Inquisitorial logo.
Yeah, he's borrowed it off a sister.
Or a member of the Death Watch.
That's also
No, they're really nice. I think that they're really nice. I like them, but the stars of the box, they're good.
Yeah.
They are so good.
Oh yeah.
They are chunky.
Yeah, I'd love the new Terminators. I've been a fan of Terminators since I first started playing 40k.
They're a perfect reimagining of that sculpt. They haven't changed the design. All they've done is taken what makes a Terminator, scaled it up a bit, and given them that. So if you look at the Terminator in the top right, you can see where how the arm actually. There's a gap between the pauldron and the rest of the body.
Move his shoulder.
So you can actually see that where his actual arms are. Move his shoulders. They just look slightly more like a person could actually wear Terminator armor, which has always been a bit of a joke. But no, they're really good.
Yeah, I would buy the box for these guys alone, honestly, and then sculpt robes on them because yes.
Yeah, and obviously at some point we're going to get a new plastic Terminators kit, probably when the Codex drops in August.
I've got to admit, the squad directly underneath them
that's what we like.
Made me laugh.
Very, very happy.
It's like the Space Marines have finally twigged how to deal with large swarms of Tyranids. Because every single one has a fucking flamer.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Just wall of death, the fuckers.
Whee!
it will work.
Yeah. The sisters have been doing it for years. It's about time these fuckers
They are
caught up.
they are a bit hidebound. So, yeah, no, I really like these. I would say they're probably on the Space Marine side. They are the least interesting because it's just it's Mark 10 armor. I really do like Mark 10 armor.
Well, again,
yes, the
you
flamer
have
is
to
a
put it
little bit
in the context of what
a little
they're
bit odd.
meant to be doing,
but-
and in that context, it kind of makes perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Oh no, the unit makes perfect sense. I'm not a big fan of the. I like the concept of having a fully armed squad. I just not 100% sold on the Pyre Blaster, but not to the point where I would change it.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a kit bash out there of a more classic looking
Yeah,
flamer.
there'll be a way of doing it. Whether I can be bothered to do it is another
Yeah.
matter. But no, I think overall I like them. They're just the regular Marines in the box though, so everything else kind of overshadows them sadly.
Yeah, but again, if the worst thing we can say is that the flamer unit is a bit boring, that is quite the compliment to
No,
this box.
that's it. And as I
Like,
say, I think everything else is fantastic. This is just good.
Important piece.
Yeah.
There is sauce.
this is pasta. Pasta is good
Yeah.
no matter what, but you can improve pasta, like with the next guy,
Says
with
Ballista's
excellent
Dreadnought
amount
on
of
my thing.
meatballs.
That's
Ah,
good.
the Brutalis Dreadnought. Yep, he's.
I mean,
It's-
it does look like a Brutalis, but
I
it
may
says
have said it
Ballista.
wrong. I haven't checked the pronunciation yet. But Ballistus. Sorry, I'm going to play the
Yes.
tired card. No.
It's your classic chonky boy with a missile launcher and las cannon, and I have so much nostalgia for that kind of Castaferum box from 3rd edition that just kind of waddled its way across the opening title of the Dawn of War intro cutscene. And this evokes that, but makes it big and scary and like just so
with
cool.
a bit of the classic box tread base almost. That's been pointed out.
Oh yeah, he's got less a tactical rock and more a tactical slab
Yeah.
of concrete. But
on this one, I'm going to give it a pass because it's referring to the old model. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and it helps give a more dynamic posing, and I'm certain that you could do the base without the tactical slab. But yeah, it's just
Yeah,
just
no,
cool.
it is.
I like
I
this
do
model.
like this model. It is nice. I think it doesn't beat the Terminators for me, but this is probably not including the characters. I think this is number 2.
Yeah, no, this is well, it's clearly number 1. From
Well,
the
it's a
marking on
first
his
company. It's
chest
first
there,
company.
but- yeah, no, which means he is quite the epic tier veteran at this point.
I don't
It
think there's
gives
anything
gives
new
clearer
on
stat lines
the
and stuff
Space
as
Marine
well, but
preview
I
side
don't
of
think
it.
it reveals
No,
any
it's just
models.
bigger pictures of the individual models. Which, yeah, and as I say, I think
So-
mechanics for 10th is probably a whole episode in itself.
My
Yeah,
favourite
we'll
side.
do a touch on those when
Yes.
we know a little more. So moving on to the Griblies, and what a Gribly to open
Yeah, he is.
Oh,
He's
he
a
is
nasty bugger.
pretty boy.
with, is a majestic flap, and is. I was never hugely into NIDs, like I quite liked them as an idea,
Okay,
but
like,
seeing
you-
the models in this one, I kind of want to do an army now.
You're just liking the new models.
you
I'm
damn
getting
could just- you
could
the
just
feeling
run them
it's
in
like the
combat patrol.
bloody,
That is an option.
ex-first love has just kicked
You've
down the
met
door.
me, right?
I'm not supposed to like these things anymore.
No, they are. I think all of them are
Proper bat
fantastic.
wings. It's proper bat wings. He's got the phalanges
Yeah, no,
going through
I'm
it.
liking the new
That makes me
Winged
happy.
Prime. Because the Winged Hive Tyrant is because the Winged Prime is huge and like for a kind of combat patrol level just seems like overkill. But this guy, he's the right size, he's the right pose
Yeah.
to be at that
Yep.
scale, and he looks menacing. Like he actually, even with his tongue out like that.
I mean, if
he's,
you want
like,
imposing, scroll
legitimately
down.
imposing.
Like, hi.
Yeah, and then Jesus Christ.
Lovecraftian horror is the way to describe the next one.
Yeah, I want this guy to paint. Like he's just damn
Mm.
cool. And yeah, the idea that there's now a kind of brain bug, leader for the
Yeah.
NIDs, above and beyond the zone tropes and all that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
stuff it's cool.
Yeah,
It's
No,
very
he is
cool.
I'm
frankly
very much in
fantastic.
love with the neurotype.
Terrifying, creepy
Although,
monster.
yeah.
Ugh.
Oh dear. Yeah.
And
I
then
mean, yeah.
I've talked for many
You
years
were talking about
how
like
Warhammer
references
Fest
to
just
the old
built on pain,
models.
and
It's like,
now
hello.
we've got the ridiculous
I remember
crab
the
monster
original Metal
back.
Carnifex.
Yeah,
It's just like,
yeah.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
It's quite a glow up to use the what the youths are saying.
Yeah,
it's
it's got the well, they're not dreadlocks, but they look like dreadlocks.
it's almost a bit Predator in
Yeah.
that head. Was when I first saw it.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. It's got that Yautja mouthpiece going on, and I just love this thing. It is. So you guys
Yeah.
remember when they redid the Land Raider Proteus from the original kind of doofy little model that it had in like second ed through to the really nice, impressive model that we
Mm.
have now in plastic? That's kind of how this feels. Like they've taken what was an inherently silly concept and made it so damn cool. Yeah, it's the model that
Yeah.
original one deserved, I feel.
I think
This
this
is
is
what
what
was in
the
the
sculptors
artist's head.
thought of, but were limited by the technology at the time. No, it's and that's
Yeah.
absolutely horrifying, and I like it. It's great. Moving on to
Yeah.
von
I will
Ryan's
admit, the first time I
Lictors,
read it, I
which
read
is a
lictors,
reference to
but
the
they're not
third
lictors.
edition
They're
codex, I
part
believe. I think
lictor,
they
but
are
they've got some other
referenced.
stuff in them as
So
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're kind
Apparently
of
they're
vanguard
super
organisms.
speedy as
So
well.
yeah,
So
they are mini. They're mini lictors.
they've got those
but
Hormigaunt
they're
leaping legs.
bit
Yeah.
Ugh.
And of course, more tentacles around the
with a
mouth
bit of an ambush
because those
potential,
are just
which could be
needed.
horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to creep someone out, just add
Mm.
tentacles.
Ripley.
Moving down to the Termagants, which again they've updated these models beautifully.
Yeah,
They're still
there's just a
recognisable as
bit more to them,
Termagants,
isn't there?
but they are just
Looks
that
good.
much better,
Yeah.
and probably won't have as
then
horrific
you
model
go-
designs.
You go down
Um,
again, you see
Yeah,
something
hopefully.
new they've done with gaunts. Yeah.
Yeah, these are weirdly creepy.
It's the lack of eyes
Yeah,
every time.
they've almost it's the lack of eyes, and it's
Yeah,
almost
you
like
got that little purple
burrowing
parasite thing on their
insects
back.
or something like that they don't, because the way
Yeah.
they're painting them paler than everything else.
Yeah, it just says that they protect synapse
Yeah.
creatures. So
These are essentially
I mean, I
a
guess it means
bodyguard
synapse
unit
creatures
from
have shield drones now.
sacrificing drones.
I guess functionally, yeah. They're just there and they're meat.
I'd have
They're
to-
cannon fodder, but
well,
I imagine they'd
We
make
don't
very
know.
good
You don't
tar
kind of
pits
guess
for
exactly what
anything
they do
trying to get
until we
close
get
to
a look at the book, I suppose. So
synapses.
I mean, yeah, that certainly seems likely. I mean,
I'm
I've
just
got no
thinking
problem guessing the
big
function
unit
of the
that you
unit
put
below
between
them.
your synapse creature and your attackers.
That
And
big,
yeah,
big gun for a gaunt, anyway.
stabby.
Yeah.
Heavy weapons, gaunts almost.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yes,
definitely.
yes. They finally found a use for the bizarre back
And
funnels
then,
that the Tyranids
this
have.
thing, the psychophage.
Oh, it's even better once you know what that smoke coming out of their funnels is. It's ground up psyker. It's psyker ash.
Psychic acid, isn't it?
They eat them and then they pump out the ash.
Oh wow. Okay.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing is terrifying. Like, it's got tentacles. It's got.
Well, it's just like there's a wonderful thing
spider
in
legs,
the in the trailer where the librarian
actual
starts using his
funnels coming out
powers,
the
and
back.
two of these fuckers just stop what they were doing and immediately turn to face him. So I'm gonna bet it's got it's a psychic killer. That's obvious. So it's clearly got
Yeah.
something to do with them. It's just like you feel your Space Marine librarian. I feel this. Oh, it makes me very happy to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the whole Tyranid
Yeah.
side is
Well,
just
the whole kind of lore
creepy
behind it
and
is that
terrifying.
when they
which is
fought,
what they
they
need to
defeated
be.
High Fleet
Um,
Leviathan at Baal. It wasn't High Fleet Leviathan. It was a little splinter fleet whose entire purpose was to see what kind of resistance Leviathan should expect, so it could evolve to deal with it. And now the main fleet is attacking from completely the other side of the galaxy.
and they've gone round the back.
Yeah, as I said, it's always what
Yeah.
Tyranids were, wasn't it? They're
I'd love the
literally
Eldritch space horror look of all of
outside
this.
context
It's just-
problem. They've come
Yeah,
from
they hit it out the park.
Yeah.
outside the galaxy from wherever the fuck they were before, and and now they look like this.
Yeah, the last place they ate into oblivion.
Yeah,
Yep. So then the rest of the page is what we get in the box, which really interesting. I'm looking forward to giving the Crusade and reading through the book. So yeah, that's looking forward to that. There's going to be a book. There's always a book based around the box. I thought what was nice is the roadmaps, and I think that's one thing everyone has said. They like the roadmaps they've done for all of the systems they've shown off. Be interested to see what else we get with the new Tyranid Codex and the new Space Marine Codex.
Yeah. So I imagine there will be other releases as things drop.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen the only things. interesting to see that
Yeah.
one of the earliest in the Codex release. Obviously, we're getting Nids and Space Marines in autumn. Necrons are getting an update in winter, which I know they're one of the older codexes right now, but all the rules will be different anyway. So it makes me wonder what new models they're going to
I
get
wonder whether they,
with that drop.
because I think that what in the Necron range, I think Necron, what's still using the plastic rods in the Necron range. I think the Necron range as a whole is pretty solid because they were the antagonists in the previous edition, previous edition's box set, I should say. Everyone's an antagonist.
Yeah,
Just quickly scrolling through their range. Locust destroyers still use the green plastic rods.
yeah,
Yeah, just Locust destroyers.
okay.
So I would expect Locust destroyers to be the what gets the update,
Yeah,
assuming it's not characters, because there is stuff like the previous Catan are a bit dinky compared to the Boy Dragon.
a little bit.
So
Yeah. I am surprised Dark Angels isn't coming out sooner, given we've just had the
I
Lion.
wonder whether they'll get a big range refresh though.
Hopefully, we'll see new Deathwing Terminators on the same scale as the new, Firstborn that we've seen with the Leviathan box. I'd like that as a Deathwing player.
Total guess. I would look at what the Black Templars got. So we currently only have. Can I filter by Primaris? Yeah, I can. Yeah, because they've only really got the Master Lazarus as and the Lieutenant. So Ravenwing and Deathwing Primarisized, I can see being what we get. Possibly some of the characters, Belial potentially, or a new Master of the Deathwing.
It's about time he had an update. So yeah, I would hope so.
So that's I think that's what why they're pushed back almost, because actually the rest of them are pretty solid rangers. I don't think they need much, but yeah, dark because the Primaris range, whilst it's big, it's not particularly diverse with the chapters.
Yeah.
Certainly not to the extent the Firstborn are. Right, so shall we move on to out of the grim darkness of the far future into Underworlds,
Yeah.
and a
Let's take a
really
look.
characterful new warband. But that's what you say about every Underworld's warband, to be fair.
Yeah, they are all great, but these guys are just they're ghosts. They're fun
I love
ghosts.
the lore behind these. Essentially, this is in all four of them are just looking after one sword. So the one, so when you first come on the page, the one who's got the hood, that is basically a sword that
Yeah.
Nagasha's made to kill people he wants. Like he's made a list, he's checked it twice, and now he's sent his ghost out to take heads. So that is the guy who swings the sword, which just looks like a normal sword, but is. So the next one along going right, he's checking the list again. He's making sure, right, your name is definitely on it. Your head's coming off. The next chap carries the chopping block, and the final one is
Yeah.
chop and a blade. I just love them as a concept. I think they're beautiful. And one of their objectives is called a basket of bonces.
That is wonderful. Oh yes,
Not a
basket of
particularly
bonds.
complicated warband. It is just Nighthorn, and Nighthorn have got a very good aesthetic that translates to different styles really well. Theff is more of the Underworld's player than anyone else here. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, they look like good fun. I tend to pick up all the Underworld's warbands just because I enjoy Underworlds. It's very quick to play. It's good fun, and you can throw it down. You can get 3 games into an hour, which is ideal when you don't have a lot of time to play.
That's fair. And again, we've got a fantastic
yeah.
roadmap, which brilliant. Not a lot to say on this one. It's
No,
it's
not
a,
very
it's
good to
just a
say
solid
either.
release. I think that's probably a theme for the entire reveals. Really, it's just all pretty solid. Middle Earth.
Yeah.
It's cool. I think as an anniversary model, it's really nice, and the fact that the Ring Wraith is a playable piece. I did see someone do a Lego one where they said, if you don't want to play Games Workshop prices, here is a much cheaper version, which did make me laugh. But yeah, no, it's a diorama. It's really cool.
Yeah, I do like the fact that it comes
I look
apart
forward
and
to
you
seeing
can
Gundam
use at
next
least
year.
part of it as an actual,
Yeah,
like you said, player piece. So
and many carrots. So shall we move on to Warcry? Do you want to take the lead on this one, Theff, as you are also Mr. Warcry?
Yeah, I again much love for Warcry. They have gotten into this habit of releasing basically 2 warbands in a box with a bunch of terrain, and you can do that, and it gives you a game. And it makes it a very, very accessible skirmish system. Much like Kill Team, but I'd argue more so because it plays better than Kill Team in my. Well, it's simpler than Kill Team, which makes it better in my opinion. yeah, Nightmare Quest, which is Stormcast versus Vampire Gribblies. And once again, Stormcast are big, stoic, happy people. I say happy, probably not very happy, in armor. There's a good selection here. Like you've got that guy has a bear cloak.
Yep.
Like, that makes me happy. In fact, they both have bear
I
cloaks.
think they're probably
Or are they?
the same model, or at least
They're alt builds of the same model.
Appear to be
Yeah,
the
they're
same model
ultimate
with
builds.
different
Yeah.
parts. Yeah.
I really like Thunderstrike armor. I think it just looks
Yeah.
so much better than old Stormcast. I think old Stormcast they were just Sigmarines to a degree, whereas these guys just look.
Yes.
Let's say I've got far more enthusiasm to paint my Thunderstrike armor than I do to paint the old Stormcast. These are superb.
And then you move on to the aforementioned Gribblies, and these guys are
These
cool.
guys are cool. They are creepy. He has a hand through his leg.
Like, they are horrifying, ghoulish things. Do you guys know the background to the Flesh Eater
Yes.
Courts?
Yes.
The sheer delusion of them that they think they're grand questing knights that have feasts.
Yeah,
and
They took the old
are
insanity of the
still
Strigoi and
wonderful,
turned it up
noble
to
beings.
like.
It's how they
12.
brought Bretonia
Yeah,
into the Mortal Realms.
They even brought their cute dogs along.
They are
Awful
so
hounds
creepy.
with some kind of weird, I don't know, baboon crossed with vampire bat face.
I don't know what
I'm
they
not
are, but they
sure.
are
And the fact that they're walking on their flipping
with
knuckles.
bones through their arms.
They're walking on their knuckles, and their feet have grasping fingers.
yeah.
Look at their feet.
They really need to redo that ghoul kit. Looking at the next three guys and just how much better
Oh,
they
yeah.
look. I mean, to be fair, it is an old kit. It's one of the old fantasy
Yeah.
lines that it probably just shows you the difference, really. And then there's some terrain and a roadmap.
Yeah, I love the terrain in this one. The Warcry terrain has been consistently great. I haven't seen a set that I haven't thought was excellent. And this is the drive core from a Seraphon starship here. So as you do,
It says it's a Realm Shaper engine, whatever that is.
drive core, Realm Shaper engine. Yeah,
Technology that we
it goes whom and does things.
That's no. I'm very tempted by the Stormcast out of this box. Yeah, hopefully they get added to Stormbringer if they extend it past issue 80.
I will inevitably pick up this box so we can talk on that
Excellent.
front.
I can probably make you an offer. Right.
Cool.
Moving on. Another Age of Sigmar I'm quite a fan of. Cities of Sigmar. Something that I think we've needed for quite a while.
Yep.
Just to give that regular human view of the Mortal Realms. I like these guys. I was a bit disappointed when the first Cities of Sigmar miniatures were released because I wanted them to be a bit more like the. I didn't want them just to do the old Free Guild because I've never liked those models. I preferred the ones from 5th, 6th, as opposed to the men who go in to battle in pajamas with no trousers, no shoes on.
Yeah.
That kit has just always mildly annoyed me. But these guys are fantastic. They're baroque, but they're not silly. They're definitely high fantasy, and I think these will go really well with my kind of trying to do the whole desaturated grimdark.
Yeah, they look like proper knights again.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it. I particularly like the guy with antlers. Well, antlers on his helmet.
And I like how they've kind of put the old Empire Knights below them as well. It's kind of showing how the original.
Yeah, what they used to look like.
Yeah, I feel like these are a nice return to form, but bring them into the modern feeling of Age of Sigmar, and like they're not locked in any one time period or anything else. They are just good fantasy knights. I also like the fact that you've got a good mix of kind of gender and race represented. It's nice to see that in the paint job, and just
Yeah, and at least one is wearing completely full body armor, so they can be whatever you like.
The woman though
exactly.
with no helmet, she is gonna mess you up something fierce. Do not.
Oh yeah, that is a big lump of metal that she's swinging.
Like, it is a very large mace. Yes.
No, they're fantastic. The alternate.
Yeah, much love.
The second of the alternate schemes I think is fantastic. That's kind of what I might end up going for. That kind of dirty lived in look. But no, they're no notes. They're perfect. So now we're on to the Dawnbringer Crusade. So we're getting a narrative campaign. I might pick these ones up. I'm going to say spoiler alert for this one. This reveal contains my favourite and least favourite reveal. If anyone can guess them, you will get a small prize. So we'll start with Bob.
Don't be lying. Nothing.
So the Harbinger of Decay. This might
Yeah, I don't want to touch that model. That's
that is a grungy boy.
That's a
and I
grungy
think this guy would
boy.
look fantastic, like leading a horde of Poxwalkers. I think we need Poxwalkers in Age of
Yeah.
Sigmar. He just looks creepy, and he's such a good reimagining of the classic Nurgle champion on horse.
yeah.
No notes, fantastic.
Yeah. I like the fact he has multiple head options
Multiple
as well.
head,
So,
multiple weapons. Yeah, brilliant.
yeah, I wouldn't want to touch it, but yeah, very, very cool model.
So then we're moving on to our Death character.
Yeah, just to make it better, a slightly potentially even worse model below it.
Yeah. He's just biting off limbs. He looks perfectly
He's having
happy.
a whale of a time. Chap at the base, less so,
Yeah.
but has he plucked out one of
Yeah,
his eyes and it's just like
Yeah.
laying below?
It's just kind of hanging there. Yeah, that's a nice touch.
Yep.
So I think
And the tiny rats running around on the corpse.
yeah, because they believe that
Yeah.
he thinks he's like some kind of warrior envoy who's really eloquent at speaking while he's just going. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, to him, he's wearing like fine robes and chanting the words of his lords and his people, and to everyone else, he's this deluded zombie man wearing a cloak of human skin.
But aren't we all when we think
True,
about it?
true.
No.
So moving on.
Again, very much like him. I do like the Flesh Eater Quartz, and he is a nice addition.
Next, we have a half-naked, burly, short man with outrageous hair.
Ah, yes, it's the Ginger Hammer
I'm
Man.
wondering, is this perhaps your
No,
favorite
actually.
release?
So
okay.
I was thinking about this, and the problem is he just looks like every other Fire Slayer.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
I was going to say he's just a Fire Slayer. He's a very dynamic Fire Slayer, but I can't think of any Fire Slayer who wouldn't look like this if the opportunity arose.
Well, this
Because
is
that's just what they do.
I think I saw the joke elsewhere. It's like the Fire Slayer line is brilliant if you like short, burly men with outrageous hair who are half naked. Because that is
And
a
to
lot
be
of people.
fair, a lot of people do.
I think that what the point I'm trying to stumble towards is I think Slayers in the old dwarfs were really cool because they really stood out amongst the kind of dour and grim and quite conservative and sensibly dressed dwarfs. There was these naked.
Yeah, I was going to say incredibly heavily armored dwarfs, and then you had these guys with no shirts
who
on.
were, trying to seek an honourable death after they forgot to set their out of office notifications or did some other kind of mild slight against dwarf society. Slights might increase in severity depending on individual slayers, but no, he's a perfectly fine model. And through Stormbringer, I'll be getting some Caradron, so adding in some Fire Slayers is not against the idea, but I think as an army,
Yeah, I don't really. Again, it's old fantasy creeping back in, but an army of nothing but Slayers or Fire Slayers, as they're called now, it doesn't sit right. It's like you said, they're supposed to be the weird standout unit, the insane guys, and when you make them,
I think that's just what someone says. The problem when they've reimagined dwarves for Age of Sigmar, they kind of took two elements of the old dwarfs, the engineers and the slayers, and blew them up into their own factions. Now I think
they left a lot of the kind of
I think Caradon's work better just because you've got more scope for.
Yeah, I do like because they're the flying guys, aren't they? Yeah, I do like them just because they went sufficiently far enough from the old image of dwarfs that they may as well be their own
these
thing.
are.
But this feels like you've taken a slight section of what used to be dwarves, and you're trying to stretch it into something to fill the gap left behind by the rest of them.
No, that makes complete
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then the final one, we have a shouty goblin. I mean, goblins are just fun.
He's wearing an orc skull.
It's a squig,
for crying out
he is wearing a squig.
It's a squig. Yeah, he's wearing a squig skull. He's got the tail on his back. I don't care. It says they go to war armed with the gift of the gab. Does that literally mean they've all got squig skulls around their heads? I hope it does.
Yeah, he is suitably ridiculous.
Basically, he shouts a lot and gets cave creatures to attack.
If you wanted to use him for something else, he could be a really fun druid build for like D&D or Pathfinder.
Oh god, yeah, that would be quite cool, actually.
Yeah, beautiful. So they're all coming rules wise.
Oh yeah, And we get a look at what all the... Oh, Jesus, the Gobbo has
so
a
these are the
lot of
regiments of
squigs.
renown, which I kind of basically allows you to take that formation in an army of their alliance, but not their their Pacific army. So you could take the Fire Slayers can be taken in any order army, but except Fire Slayers, basically. Which is possibly the one way I will end up buying Fire Slayers.
Yeah, I mean, I never played dwarfs, but I want old dwarfs back. I want the Great Book of Grudges back. I want the Iron Breakers.
You can still field all of them in a city's army, but it feels weird that they don't get their own dwarven.
Well, luckily,
it's not right.
that will soon be addressed, and we'll get there soon. Again, great roadmap. As I might pick up the Harbinger book, because I didn't do the last 40k one because I knew the rules were changing significantly. I don't see the rules changing significantly for Age of Sigmar anytime soon. I think they've got it into a good place. So yeah, but no, solid reveals for the next campaign for Age of Sigmar. I look to see where you take it.
Yeah, excited there.
I think this is the last Age of Sigmar. Yes, this is the last Age of Sigmar reveal.
It's the big pig, the very big pig.
Quite like him. So for reference on the last two, my favourite model of the real was the Harbinger. I just think he's so creepy.
Fair enough.
I probably would never pick him up, but he's the favourite model of the entire weekend was that dude. He just looked great. But yeah, no, big pig dude. With his two men chained to the side to hack off.
Yes.
Yeah, again, not much comment here.
It's cool. It's a big, it's a bloody big pig. There's probably a Lion King joke in there to make.
And thing is, even if it gets killed in combat, you get bacon at the end. So there is literally no way this goes wrong.
A hell of a lot of bacon.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Ooh, I want a bacon sandwich. No, I'll be good.
Do it.
Palpatine meme. Right. No. No notes. Really cool. Awesome.
We've got the Horus Heresy next,
and something I'm legit excited for.
He's a lanky boy.
I have gone on the record as, it is well known here, my fan of Knights, and the fact that he is now plastic and fully detailed. I will have to get one of these guys.
It's probably worth. Except that they're going to do an upgrade kit for this guy. For the other, I think there's two more patterns that use the same chassis. I imagine the next. It might be a resin upgrade kit, but maybe magnetize those arms.
Oh yeah. Well, one of them would be getting a Kopesh rather than the Lance because Thousand Suns, and probably a round shield rather than the more traditionally shaped one here, just to match the Egyptian theming and papyrus banners. But I'll stop talking about my army now. I love this. It's just so fucking cool. And plastic kit means it's actually affordable, almost as affordable as any of this hobby is.
And you don't have the shatter potential of resin.
Yes.
Just that bit more playability. No, very few notes. It was a very cool kit before, and they've now made it plastic. Moving on to the next, which is the Commanders of the Siege of Cophonia. Two just really solid Space Marine characters. I'm a loyalist, so I think I prefer the Imperial Fist far more than the Son of Horus, but he looks like a bad guy. He's not fully chaos, but he looks like he is. Yeah, no.
He's got the shoulder blades. He's got the dangling skulls with big X's and stuff carved into them. I think we can safely say that. He's making the transition. I mean, he's literally 2 parts of his armor have been converted into the black spiky thing.
Yeah, I would.
He's making the transition.
I would happily.
I was going to say, and he has a brutal power axe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would very happily use him as a Chaos Commander in 40k. Yeah, even if I wasn't going to play him in Heresy, which honestly might pick him up just to paint, because he's very kind of just aesthetically pleasing.
On the flip side, I can see why you like the Imperial Fist as well. He's got that pose going. With the
Oi, you're next.
Or onward men, or you.
Or if you put him really close to something,
boop the snoot of a carnifex.
Take it on the nose. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. That gets rid of Tyranid invasions. Just flick them on the nose and they run right away.
There's also the fact that he appears to be like nonchalantly standing on some kind of glowing.
Well, I
power
think he's
source
just shucks the
thing,
Volkites like
so-
dissolve stuff. So he's basically vaporized all
Yeah.
that guy's skin, which is a very rude thing to do on a Wednesday evening. But it is a traitor, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can think of worse uses for Volkite, but yeah, he's also very much got the good guy
Yep.
feel to him, like with the laurels, the
Yeah.
heroic cape, and all that.
Yep.
I do love how cinematic the models for Heresy are. Like even more so than 40k equivalents. They are just
Yeah.
they feel like they deserve to be on a windswept battlefield.
Well,
Yeah.
it's that whole thing, isn't it? They're from a time, or they're set, I suppose, just after a time when this whole glory and honor for the Emperor thing really mattered, if that makes
Oh, yeah.
sense.
No, it is the time of myth, as the intro to every heresy book goes. It's a clash of great heroes, and the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. And yeah, the game plays cinematically, if that makes sense. So it fits that the miniatures should be of a similar caliber.
I've not got around to playing Heresy yet, but it's on my list to try at some point. And then we're moving on to the next bit of Heresy. Ooh.
All this says is encoded
Oh, sorry.
transmission.
The
There's
path
a
ahead
video.
was the page I was looking at next. Plastic Assault Marines are coming. They've given us some renders, and what looks like we're going to get an upsized Mark III armor based on that image.
I get behind that. I do like the Mark III.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Mark III. 2, 3, and 4 are my favorite armor marks. So getting 3 is cool. Big fan.
I do like this roadmap as well, where it's just like autumn, a Primarch.
Be cool to see what we get. I think people are what people are hoping.
Ooh,
Lorgar
look-y.
is what people are suggesting. Lorgar Ascended is his.
All right. Isn't he the one who's
more of its
fault?
error, but yeah,
Yes.
no, that's fair.
See, 95 quid or whatever it'll cost to buy him is a lot of money to take him out the back, strap him to a black powder charge, and blow him up. But at the same time, that's all I want to do to Lorgar.
Yeah. It's like set him on a table, get the camera rolling, get your hammer, yell something along the lines of "You fucking prick," and bring it down. Yeah, that sounds quite tempting, actually.
And again,
I'll go halves with you as long as I get a swing.
Still an expensive day out, but fair enough. I'm also curious to see what this mystery army reveal is. Curious to see what that might be. But that's it's a future podcast, quite literally. So moving on to the old world, we're actually getting models, and both of them are bangers.
Oh, they look good. They look good, and they twig the nostalgia so
they've
nicely.
listened to the community and done Tomb Kings versus Bretonia.
Yeah. I mean, the only problem I really have, and it's a small thing. The Bretonian is not on a horse.
Yeah.
I don't think they understand
Well, they
what
did say that they're going
Bretonia
to
is
do
about.
Knights on Foot as well.
Yeah, but it's
don't get me
Bretonia.
wrong. I totally get your point.
You can put Empire Knights on foot. You can put Chaos Knights on foot for all I care.
This does represent
this is
a knight with a vow of empathy, though.
But he's a Bretonian.
He was
Sorry.
real fucking empathetic to that orc.
Well,
by the looks of it.
essentially, he
Yes.
I was rereading the Bretonian army book. And essentially, one of the upgrades you can give is the vow of empathy. They lose their horse, but then they're better at leading peasant units. So I really like him, and I think he will be an instant buy. I think he's fantastic and usable in other stuff. You could quite happily have that.
I like how the guy who designed him says, in my mind, Bretonian Knights are stoic warriors, perhaps just a little pompous, like just a little.
Oh dear.
He's a little bit.
Actually, that he's really reasonably dressed. He's not.
Well, like you said, if he's taking the vow of empathy, he's the one to get down and dirty with peasant folks.
More the point I'm saying is it's.
No, you're right. He is fairly modest and practical looking, considering all the kit he's got in his backpack.
He's got a lot. He's been shopping. He's been to the gift shop certainly, but actually that armor is pretty real world esque. It's not looking too over the top, with the exception of the horns. Maybe the horns are maybe a little OTT for real world, but it works. I love him.
I mean, look at the size of the sword compared to the model. That's also
but
OTT
it's
for
more
real
grounded
world.
than some of the Age of Sigmar designs.
Yeah. I get what you mean, but that's kind of always been Bretonia's thing, if that makes sense. Like they've always been like you have. Well, for example, the Tomb Kings. who have literal giants made of bone and all sorts of crap like that, and can raise the dead and send the plagues of Egypt against your army. And against them, you have literal Arthurian knights who, through the blessing of the Lady of the Lake, can
I'm
actually
very
fight
tempted by
those
Bretonnia.
things.
I've got some 6th edition Empire which I'm working on, which I'm going to keep pure 6th edition.
Bretonnia's been. I've loved Bretonnia for a very long time. I'm never going to play them because I can't square it with myself. To be honest, I can't get in the right mindset. But I do love them. They're so wonderful.
It's yeah. I might end up with a Bretonian army, especially if it's the launch box.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can find someone who wants Tomb Kings. I don't think that's gonna.
I won't squeak too loudly, but
those bits there'll be plenty of bits for your Heresy Thousand Sons.
yeah. See, what I'd want to do is read the rules of the old world before committing. But
Yeah. They do promise that it's only the start of a flood of new models for Warhammer the Old World.
One thing I would love them to do is to do an open beta for the Old World at some point in next year. Just kind of go right.
Yeah.
Here is we want to do a big play test because we want to get it right.
Yeah, and I would certainly appreciate that.
That blue and red scheme, Bretonia. Oh, I might end up, especially as they're not going to redo the State Trooper kit, which I don't like the State Troop kit. Bretonia might be the way forward, but we'll see. I do have all dwarves and elves in boxes as well, so there's options there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep an eye on Old Fantasy because, well, Old World they're calling it now, because if it does justice to Old Fantasy,
I think
I'll come back.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, I won't. But if it does, I'll come back.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what army I'll play, but I will come
I think
back.
this was in the Q&As. Every playable army in 8th edition will have rules, including the Chaos Dwarfs. They'll probably just be the Forge World ones, but they will all have rules, and then they will focus on their primary focus is what's going on in the old world. So Dark Elves might be involved, but probably more as raiders rather than. I think they're going to keep their focus laser on the old world. I think it's very much it'll be cool if we get there. If it's popular enough to go and do Lustria and
I hope it is. I hope there are enough like old fans like me who can try and.
If this, I think these are both Forge World. I think they're both resin. So I'm wondering.
Yeah. Oh, it's not so much the mod. Yeah, it's not so much the models that are exciting me. It's the potential for the.
Yeah. No, I think that's something we're a long way out.
I want to see how it plays.
I think I am buying the Paladin when he drops. Even if I just eventually end up playing him in D&D.
That's perfectly fair.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair. Yeah,
an absolute badass.
Yeah, he wouldn't even need to make
fighter or paladin of some description.
Yeah.
And then did you see the cosplay? So there was a Bretonian cosplayer who was about 85% this model. He had the antlered helmet. It was almost like he knew that was being revealed. He didn't, because he's just some random cosplayer, but it was so close to this model, it was unreal. And he was in the old world reveal when this guy came out. And that was just phenomenal. Right, we should probably jump on to the next bit. I've gushed about that enough. Last series of stuff, Kill Team, Ashes of Faith. I really like the concept of this box.
As an old school like Sisters Inquisition player, I can appreciate the Inquisition Kill Team here. Really nice sculpts. I especially like the guy who I initially thought had a pair of scissors.
With the cross blades.
I legit thought pair of scissors.
He's an enlightener, is his term. We'll find out what he's enlightening later. But no.
Well, yeah, I don't know what he's enlightening, but he's got something leading inside his nose. So clearly he's high on something.
They love the Gland. Is it Gland Warrior? That veteran guard from the 50mm version, 45mm, or the big version.
Yeah,
he's really cool, and the Hive Ganger also cool. It's a really nice kill team, and the fact that the way they work is they can bring in reinforcements from other Imperial kill teams to supplement them. I think is quite an interesting way they'll play. I've not played the new edition of Kill Team, but this is the first one. I've liked the models, but I've never got around to actually jumping in. This is also on my that might have to get bought, because it does come with Scions, which is cool, and some Sisters of Silence, which
well,
are
always cool.
And then the Chaos, it's just a Chaos cult, but the way they play essentially is the cultists can mutate.
Yeah, from what I'm reading, it's like every single model has the potential to suddenly turn into, I guess, any of
Yeah.
the things below the cultist
Those
models.
mutants
Jesus.
really fucking cool.
They're very good.
Like, yeah, it's been a while since we've had really good like Chaos mutants, but yeah, these guys are gee.
There's also the fact, like, any single one of these models works for a Chaos Spawn if you happen to need one of them.
Yes.
But no, they're really cool. Like them all. Not so much of a fan of the next one, the Warhammer Heroes Space Marine Kill Team. I think they're all good models. I'm just not really a fan of the blind bag way of putting them
that's
together.
fair.
You know you're going to end up with so many of Chainsaw Dude and Bolter Guy and never get the captain.
Yeah, you've never
That's not
played
right.
a collectible card game.
No,
have
and there's a
you?
reason for that.
Yeah.
I like X-Wing and stuff like that where it says what cards you get in the box.
Yeah, that's fair. Blind bags are, as somebody who's done the Lego ones many times, oof.
And then the last one is just we're coming to the end of the Gallo Dark, which has been the Space Hulk based one. We're moving into a new season. There's a reveal trailer. It doesn't really say much else. I've got a theory, and the one that's been banded around, but the next one is going to be Space Marine Scouts versus Gene Stealers. Nice bit of synergy with the 10th edition releases, and the fact that the Gene Stealer art on the cards they've revealed is the current style of Gene Stealer. They're not being updated initially.
Yeah, but it would give them a great opportunity to revamp the Space Marine Scout kit because that one is old.
Definitely. And they've already they've done the initial work with the neophytes for Black Templars. So there's stuff there. And with that, and how long have we? This is going to be a hell of a long episode. 2 hours, and I think I spent at least 45 minutes talking with Wilko, so it could be a bit of a monster.
Yeah, just need a bit of one.
That's all right.
Oh well, good luck, Theff, for
This
the
is
editing.
editing Theff speaking. I can cut whatever the fuck I want.
Especially as much swearing as possible, as this is technically a family show.
I'm terribly sorry.
No, it's all
Half
right.
of it came from me.
So yeah, that is our wander through the Warhammer Fest reveals. I say it in my discussions with Wilko, which you'll already heard. I'm very tempted to go next year. I think doing the 3 days is the way to do it. The Saturdays are mad because that's the day everyone goes. So yeah, and especially if it's Manchester, that's trivial for me to get to. So yeah, no, thank you very much for joining me, guys. We've looked at lots of cool models. There's lots of cool stuff to come 10th edition. Hopefully it's good. I want it to be good.
Yeah. Well, we can get together and do a round table on that once we've seen the rules or had a chance to play it even better.
And we might have to do some more episodes rather than just randomly popping up for air every year. But
yeah, we'll try and get better at that.
It would be good.
It would be good. It would be very nice to start doing this
you
again.
never know. We might go to Warhammer Fest next year as content creators.
Holy shit!
And
oh my God!
Sorry, swearing.
Naughty swearing. And in other Wish streams, I might also win the lottery on Saturday night. But yeah, I'm rambling here. I need to go to bed. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. I'm gonna say good night from me.
And me.
Yeah, and good night from me.
Thank you for listening to Astrocast. We are a Tinker Tailor Soldier Sponge Productions. Feel free to click on our website to find all the links to all the other podcasts that are produced by the network. All contact information and social media will be in the doobly-doo down below. And there is a Patreon that supports all of the stuff done by Tinker Tailor Soldier Sponge. Go through there. If you think this drivel was worth something, throw us a pound. We would be eternally grateful.